Is it fair to say that your basic income tax or your basic tax reform proposal will include a cut of the income tax paid for by closing of loopholes in the development?
You know, Joe, these are the same kind of questions that everybody was asking about the Turnpike. And we answered those questions when it was suit. We're really not done with this yet. I'm not trying to be smart about it. It is not complete yet. But I'm very optimistic we can see a significantly lowering of that income tax that I think would help us grow even faster. You know, I constantly talk to CEOs, not just CEOs that are coming in, but ones that I'm trying to, start getting into a relationship with. And the idea that there will be a lower income tax in Ohio appeals to all of them. And it signifies something just beyond the income tax. It signifies a business climate where people can be comfortable and where they can be stable. But this tax will be focused. This income tax cut will be focused on helping small businesses to grow and giving them the kind of relief that they need. But look, I mean, these are all tough things. You know, to put in something like a modernized severance tax, it's just going to take time. Members have to have education. You know, you've got to be patient, and we will get there on this. But I also have to tell you, I'm very pleased with the progress we made on the environmental side. And if we didn't have good environmental regulations, we weren't going to do permits. Because I am not going to wreck this environment. It's not acceptable to us. And we've got, really good regs. I hope they don't get disrupted next year. But I think we'll have a modernized severance tax. Let me make one thing clear. This is about depleting resources in our state. This is about people that take out of the state. And it's not like the severance tax is a new idea. It's been in place forever. It's been in place before Bill Batchelor was here. And what this is really is a modernization of it to reflect the real value of what we have here in the state. Okay, thanks. It's not, look, yeah.
Governor, you and the leaders have said in the past that you don't think the time is right now for a right to work bill. Would you support or oppose this effort to put it on the ballot by citizen referendum?
Let me just repeat this, and I've answered a lot of questions that I would refer you to other statements, but I'll just say it one more time. We have a very aggressive agenda that is moving Ohio in the right direction. Higher ed reform, K through 12 reform, school funding, our whole job training initiatives, the ability to take care of infrastructure. That is my focus, period.
But would you support?
I answered
the question is whether you support or oppose the referendum, not whether or not the legislature.
Well, when you have a focus, you have to focus on your agenda. That's what I'm focused on. I'm sort of think of me this way. Think of me as we could use a surprise, as a horse trying to run to the finish line with blinders on. I'm not looking at any horses next to me. If I just do this, Ohio is going to be in much better shape, and focus is an awful lot about what this job is about. And, to some degree, I'd like to say limited focus, but it's not quite as limited maybe as it ought to be, but we're winning.
The Democrats say that now that Republicans have a 3/5 majority in both chambers, you could, if you wanted, put ballot issues on the ballot, and the Democrats couldn't stop you. My question is, is there anything you would like legislators to put on the ballot next year with that 3/5 supermajority?
Next question.
Attorney General DeWine suggested that he would support arming teachers. It's a little more complicated than that, but generally speaking, is that something that you would support? Or is it, what he said specifically was that if he were in charge at a school, he would have somebody with access to a locked box that had a gun in it at school as a way of protecting the way there is.
Judge, I refer a lot to what I had to say yesterday, but I would say that, look, the experts are going to look at this, and they're going to come back and make recommendations on a whole host of things. And I think time to do that is to wait, and I've got Dick Ross, who's here, working across the administration to do everything we can with school safety and let ideas get out on the table. And you know, we'll figure out, once they're all out there, what makes the most sense, working with our partners and many interested parties.
You've rolled out a lot of different education ideas and accomplished a lot of them through legislation this year. Are there going to be any surprises beyond what we see on this piece of paper that will be worked into your education formula that you can talk about?
Yeah. You know, I think, Jolie, my feeling is that, honestly, the A through F, and I called Tom Niehaus, I called Batchel, I called Chad over there who works for Batch. I said, please don't let this die. Do not let A through F die. This is so important, and we got it. If we hadn't got that in the middle of, you know, on one end was the information highway that we did with the Ornet, the other end was the Turnpike. The Turnpike, you know, widely accepted amazingly. My whole, I don't know, I would have been devastated had this not passed, but it did. The third grade reading guarantee is really critical, but it's not like, hey kid, how'd you do on the test? You're not, you know, it's going to take work, and we're already implementing it. Our staff is all over it. In terms of school funding, you know, one thing I've said is I want a child, no matter where they live, no matter what the wealth is in their district, to be able to compete effectively with a child in every other district. So if you're poor, you've got to have the right to be able to compete with the resources that are needed for a child that lives in a district that's wealthy. Everybody deserves a chance. And there will be there is change in this school funding, but I see it as something that I would characterize, and again, it's not done either, these printouts and all these other things, but it's more important than just the dollars. It's the direction we're going, and the philosophy that more dollars in the classroom, every child deserves a right to be able to be successful, to compete. But there's going to be some programs in there that I think should be viewed very positively about opportunity for schools to change, to innovate, and ways for them to be able to do that. I don't want to get into all this until we're ready, but what I would tell you to watch for is we will have an education night where we will bring the people who were involved in this together. It's not going to be, you know, some one-off just included in the budget. We'll have a whole evening of discussion. It will involve educators, advisors, and we will cover this whole program. You know, we don't look at this as some effort to try to address some, you know, court case, but rather this is a program to make sure that our children have the capability to succeed in whatever they want. I hope that we will be able to achieve also something, and that is giving kids a chance to be in a position that if they want to go into a skill, as Jim Rhodes used to call it, vocational education, we want to give them that path as well. So, Julie, I am very hopeful that this will be greeted in a very positive way, but, you know, we'll see. A lot of politics involved in that, but not with me.
So Governor, last week you rolled out your Ohio Turnpike plan.
Yes.
And front and center was the figure of 65,000 jobs going to be created for parks. With information that I got from Steve Faulkner at ODOT and Scott Milmore, looking at the assumptions that get to that number, two key factors were federal spending on transportation. And as we know in Washington, the emphasis is to cut spending, not increase it. One. Two, there's the factor of induced jobs, which really represented about 50% of those 65,000.
You're sounding like a Republican questioning
When Speaker Boehner provided his last fiscal clip offer, I think White House Press Secretary Jay Carney described it as magic beans and fairy dust. The induced part of the jobs. Why is that not the same? That sort of wishful thinking?
Well, first of all, we took these statistics on estimates from all the geniuses in Washington. So let's put that out there. These are really federal estimates for, and I'll I'll let Jerry just come on up, so we'll stand up. But the fact of the matter is that this is not based on some wild hypothetical amount of gas tax money that comes from DC. Essentially what we've done is by bonding against these programs, we've now provided the ability to get started on so many projects that are needed for 20 or 25 years. And in the course of doing that, of course, you have construction, and you have the jobs that come from this construction, which is why I think the plan, you know, look, we didn't lease it, we didn't sell it, it was not the right thing to do. We maintained control of a valuable asset. But you're going to see construction that would not have occurred had it not be for this, and it's not based on some magic formula out of Washington. Jerry, you want to comment?
In terms of the federal bill, cuts at the federal level, we have a continuation or a new transportation budget at the federal level. It's continuation, so we're not going to be cut. We're not getting an increase, but we know what we can count on in the near future. We also know that when we let projects of a certain size, that means so many jobs, and that's not pixie dust or something. We know that those jobs are there. We also know that there's a spin-off to that, and that those folks have to buy equipment, they have to buy materials, they have to buy asphalt and concrete. So the impact from a job standpoint, from construction and infrastructure, are solid numbers.
You know, the other thing is, you know, everybody is, I read somewhere, you know, that, you know, we're just want to privatize all of government. Well, that's, you know, that's just, well, it's a lead by people that don't understand what we're doing. When we looked at the prisons, you know, we authorized, I think, the leasing of, I think it was 5 prisons, and we ended up leasing 1. The reason we did that is, I mean, we could have got a big bump up front, but that wouldn't leave the state in decent shape. So, you know, if we could get a good deal out of somebody, great. But I got to tell you, we're not going to make some bad deal, at least on purpose, for the state of Ohio with any company. You know, we've changed the way in which we're doing our incentive program in Jobs Ohio and in the DSA. And I've learned things over the course of the last year. If you notice, we've taken off the website at Jobs Ohio the ability that if you want to leave Ohio and you say we're leaving if you don't give us help, that program's off the board. It's not on our website. But we might help somebody if they're leaving and it's a special case. One of the reasons why Diebold mattered, just to talk about this a little bit, is because we lost NCR and we want to lose that whole space. But believe me, there are CEOs that call me. I say, look, you know, if you want to leave, I hope you have a nice trip. You know what's funny? They don't leave. Then they want me to get in a bidding war with somebody in another state. Now, we're going to be willing to be competitive. But you know what I tell them? I say, look, we got great higher education. We'll help train your workers by using tuition effectively. We have stable politics. We have a great location. And we'll give you a little something on the top, but forget about this. We're not going into some bidding war with North Carolina. Get out, no, or Texas. We're not going to do that. So far it's working, and we don't think we've really lost anybody. But Chiquita we lost, you know. Mm-hmm. It would have taken us 100 years to make up what they wanted. So we weren't doing it. But this is a learning experience. And with Jerry and the Turnpike, this is an ability to wring value out of an asset. And think of it this way. John, you have a car that's sitting in a garage that you have to constantly do maintenance with, but you're never going to drive the car. I mean, why would you let it sit there? Well, you might. All those years you worked with Schwarzwalder. I mean, you might. But you see what I'm saying? So we don't want to privatize everything, but anything where you can wring more value out, save the taxpayers money, have more efficiency, we're going to do it. And the Turnpike is a good example of it. You know, how many jobs? We think that's the right number. Frankly, you could say it's a higher number, but we kind of stuck with that one. But it's pretty cool. Shovel-ready jobs.
On Jobs Ohio, are you still committed to the funding mechanism with the transfer of the liquor profits, or do the constitutional questions just make that not?